Hey, welcome back to Friendly Advice. Yes, I know I missed 2 weeks. Let's not talk about it because those people are at war again. And I had to sit and gather myself to figure out how I navigate war and work. Haha. But anyway, today I did a poll in my stories. I don't think that y'all are listening to me in any capacity anywhere around the internet, but apparently some of y'all are. And a couple of y'all did actually vote on my unofficial poll of like what you wanted to hear about this week. And it's like how to actually build the plane while you're actually already in the air when it comes to an agency. So what that means is a corporate term. And I constantly like reprimand myself for still using corporate terminology, but they bake that shit in so good. So what it basically means is to like actually have an agency already launched, already live, you already have clients, but there's parts of my business that aren't like well established without me yet. So there are some pieces where I'm still stepping in where, and when I had the Pod Factory, I wouldn't have been stepping in at this point, but I still had an operations manager. So we'll talk through like some things I'm doing. And this is again just a candid conversation as always. So if I ramble, I ramble. But also I am the editor. But anywho, so what's happening right now? What am I doing? I sent an email out last Friday about like the services I'm offering, because part of the confusion, if you are in this phase of like you've said, yes, I want to build an agency. You are Michael Scott in the situation and you declared bankruptcy to the office, but you haven't actually done anything. You didn't go down to the bank and actually like file for bankruptcy or anything like that. But you have declared, I run an agency, I'm gonna do this, I do that, right? And so in your declaration, you are now like trying to figure out like, what do I do next? How do I actually run this as an agency? What needs to change? What process needs to happen in order for me to actually truly feel like this made sense? Okay, so one of the things that made the Pod Factory easy was the fact that I just only would do podcasts and that was it. And I understood like how far I could take podcasting. Like I knew from A to Z what I could potentially do and where I belonged. I belonged with coaches with podcasting, and the furthest we would take it is video editing for a podcast plus putting it on your website and making it a blog. Now that was the furthest I was ever going to take it. But there are other people who will take it even further and build a studio for it, right? I have a former client and friend who it started off as just a podcast management agency and she built a studio. So it's more so about like understanding your services. So the email I sent, I finally like defined my services because I was just kind of in a place where Ron did not have a job. And if you aren't on my email list, you should be. They found out like maybe a couple weeks ago, Ron has a job. He's been gainfully employed for a couple weeks now, and we are so happy. It is a lot of like weight lifted off of our family. But if you are at the point where you're just kind of like taking any service that is paying at the moment and like building it into an agency, what happens is you're constantly trying to reactively build a process for every single service. And like the systems don't work because it's like, well, this system works because you manage her LTK, but this girl, you manage her ClickUp. So those are two different processes and systems. And that girl, you do her emails. So your brain is constantly flipping and your team is like, hey, Fran, if you were to do this task, how would you do it? And you're like kind of missing some steps and there are things just kind of like out of place randomly. So I was like, okay, things are a little out of place. And this is what I teach. This is what I preach. Rinse and repeat. So I needed to make sure like I found what rinse and repeat process I wanted. So I said, I wanted this to be less confusing on everyone. Like it was confusing me to run an agency and also be a coach. I was like, how can they both be together and be married and be happy? And I started thinking through like things I missed in coaching that I was just like, this was so good. Like the coaching session would be so good. I would have so much like to download from my own brain after a session. I would like be ready to go and like so pumped and excited, but I wouldn't have the time to do it because mind you, at the same time, I was actually doing the work. And that's what I'm running into right now. And I'm like, okay, this is actually what we need to offer as a service. So we are just going to stick to what we know. And the place is, what is it? stick to the things, you know. I don't know, there's a song lyric, but we're going to stick to it, and we're going to go like just head first in like systems. And when I say systems, I don't mean anything, everything your business can have, because again, that'll get you back into the land of like, what the hell we doing? But mostly like the process of a client experience usually looks like having a CRM, client relationship management tool. I use Dubsado currently, like towing the lines on if I should test out HoneyBook or not. And then ClickUp, or your project management tool. So we would help with ClickUp Monday, or I think we said we would help with Teamwork because it has similar capabilities to all of those. And I used to have Asana, but Asana, like, I don't know, she be behind the times sometimes. But we won't get hung up on those, like the actual system name. But mostly, I want to make sure we can set up a full client journey. And you just need those two systems to actually do that, and build that process for people more easily. And then on the other end, in a retainer, for all of this, if you change your services, you have us as a retainer client. We can build out the new workflow that you want. We'll also add in like email service platform management. So if you have Kit or Flowdesk, we'll actually set that up and make sure it's going. So we've been doing that for the white label agency that I've told y'all I was working for. And I was like, this is the only part of it that makes sense for us and that we've actually gotten into some kind of groove with. Like, Fran sets up the strategy. She tees it up for the team. The team knocks it out, like builds everything in the process, creates SOPs around it, and then sends it over to their team to actually like implement and use, and everyone's happy. So I figured Flourish and Flow together, that's what they're called. Flourish is me coaching. Flow is like the systems. Flourish and Flow together make the most sense. Now, as for building the plane while you're like actually already in the sky, so let's use that analogy and keep digging in. So when you say building the plane while it's already gone, like taking off, that might look like everybody's seatbelts don't work, but we know we need some seatbelts. I mean, it might look like we only have one serviceable restroom, but there are like 100 people on the plane, right? So this could mean like we're building like some smaller things internally, but we're still supporting the client. So sometimes for us right now, because we work with this agency, it's like agency within an agency, inception agency, where they have like different tools than us and they prefer different tools than us. So we're like trying to gather information from them, pull it into our tools, then have the team go back and get through it. So there's like a little delay in the process from where everything's being transferred over, like the knowledge is being transferred over from their team doing like all the sales, and then from our team actually doing the work and implementation. So like defining like what that process looks like and making sure it's smooth every single time, telling them what information we actually need to do our job before a client feels like, well, I wish you would have asked me that during sales and I could have told you like the answer during onboarding, whereas we just show up when it's time for implementation. So just to keep them from like having to repeat things, there's a lot of tweaking where I go back and forth with them and say like, hey, we actually need these details in order to do it. And how you do this is like just sitting down and being honest with yourself, one, and coming up with a plan of action of like making sure you implement what needs to change over the next 30 to 90 days. So for me right now, it's the next 30 days. Like it's just like making sure the structure is set up for my team to succeed. I am always and will continue to be the human who takes the fall for whatever goes wrong in my business. You won't blame my team members. You won't find me yelling at them. You won't ever see me say like, oh, sorry, this wouldn't have happened if such and such on my team had done it. No, I just say like, okay, we'll look into it. I'm sorry that happened. And I move accordingly, like, cause it's a we over here, not a me, not a them. So a lot of times that looks like me taking the fall for something that maybe they just missed, and that's okay. And they probably missed it because the system wasn't right. There wasn't a good process doc. Like at one point we lost the client because they didn't understand like how we were managing their email. And honestly, I like reviewed and audited like what was going on. Our team was doing it. We were just doing it silently with no like reporting process. So I just implemented a new change and said on Fridays, if you do email management, let your client know everything that you've done throughout the week. And at the end of the day, send them an overview of whatever's changed in their inbox. And we came up with a process for them knowing like what's flagged for the client versus what our team is taking care of and can respond to in the draft process. So creating an SOP for my team internally, and then also creating similarly like a guide to success for working with us inbox management wise for clients. And it also helped me realize I don't think I want to do that on my own. We'll keep doing it for the white labeling agency, but I don't want to do that. So like building the plane while you're going is also like eliminating things you don't like. So I don't enjoy inbox management and like the overview of it because it leaks so much into like personal assistant work for me that I just am like, this is hard to make into like a true process outside of you just outright hiring us as your full-on personal assistant. And that costs way more than just like me cleaning up your inbox, getting you to inbox zero, creating some drafts here and there, and making sure everything goes into proper folders. So I was like, okay, never offer that like outwardly facing. And then I'm like looking at us when we do project management services and operations. I'm like, we do fine, but it's a lot of me stepping in. It's a lot of me having the knowledge of having done like operations at a corporate level, stepping in and saying like, okay, this person probably actually needs a report on attrition versus retention and like their monthly revenue, and like having to use that part of my brain and to step in and strategize for clients on top of my team working with them. And so it felt like now I would have to be a part of every single client's process. That's not rinse and repeatable. So I said, like, what can we do that still has me in it at top of funnel, but when it comes down to task and actually doing the work, it's just my team. And I said, if we work with my coaching clients and actually help them set up the back end, it'd be much smoother. So that's also a part of like building the plane while you're on it, and you've already taken off. It's just knowing when to eliminate things. So I guess if we made it kind of like similar to the plane analogy, we just have to let go of some cargo. I don't know. I don't know. And then the other thing that I really think has been pivotal in me like taking on this thought process of building while we're already like in takeoff mode is I had to just hire an operations assistant. My brain is an operations and strategy brain all day. I can tell you exactly what system I need, how that process needs to go, what documentation we need. And a lot of people are like, oh, you can use AI for it. I don't enjoy how AI builds SOPs. It's too wordy. I literally have had to build a prompt for AI to say like, here's my theory and thought process on SOPs. Do not go outside of this. Here's the details we need for this client. And it still just quite doesn't get it. Like even Claude's pretty good, but it doesn't get it. So I'm like, I need someone to actually do this for me because I don't have enough hours in the day to also build my process documents, manage the team, coach clients, and like be point of escalation for agency clients. So it's knowing what roles are missing. So on my team, what role was missing was like middle layer operations. And I didn't need her for crazy hours because I don't also need the strategy part of my operations lead. I need like the actual like doer part of it. So it's been awesome to have someone who knows exactly what I mean when I say like, hey, I want to build out a new Dubsado proposal process because I'm only doing Flourish and Flow now. It'll be easier for people to go ahead and sign up for services outside of a discovery call if they would like to. They just click on the button and then the workflow starts from there. And in my head, I know every step that needs to happen. But again, I know every step that needs to happen. And I know it's a lot of work and I avoid it because I'm like, okay, I also have these other fires. So somebody to make sure we're doing the actual operations work for the back end of my business is pivotal, especially if you are somebody who's already been doing freelance work, done for you work, or virtual assistant work, and you're trying to build into an agency. I would probably suggest, and I wish I would have like listen to myself, because I tell people this, I would suggest you get like an operations assistant first, because they're going to be pivotal in like actually setting everything up and helping you run a little faster. I can say, since Elise joined the team, I feel like we are already seeing at the beginning of this month the ability to like double our income from last month when we finally hit. I think it ended up being in sales last month like 11.6K. And I was like super excited because that's usually like fast track to 20K at this point. So I can see the path to 20K months again, now that we have Elise on the team. And I had time to sit down because Elise is there to sit down and actually think out the service offerings. So yes, if you are looking to like figure out how to like really build this out while you're already in takeoff mode, you need to be serious with yourself about your services, make them more simple. If you have too many service offerings, that's why it's never feeling like you have a plane. It's always going to feel like we need to, like, go ahead and do an emergency landing and everyone safely get off the plane and forget the business. So really think about like what services you want to do and make them easy, rinse, and repeatable. Number two, you need to eliminate things as you're going that do not serve you, your clients, or your team. Number three, you need to make sure it is a we thing and you are really protecting your team from like the negative image that comes with like doing work while building. People can see that shit. Like, you can try to cover it up as much as you want. I always tell people to be honest. Like right now, when I sell to people, if I sell you flow, I tell you up front, this is beta. Like, we are working through it. We actively know what we're doing, but also there's some parts where like we might be missing the mark, and I'm looking for your feedback immediately. I pitched it to one of my friends. She told me no. I was not upset she told me no. I said, yeah, can I have some feedback? And she said, I didn't understand the retainer part of it. And I said, bet that. And so I made it better. I made the content better for understanding like how we work with you on a retainer basis there. So you need to be ready to take on the negativity that comes with building while you're also actively selling. And don't put it on your team. It is a you problem, not a them problem. Let them work happily in Bossing Say. That's the only time I think it's okay for Bossing Say to exist. Hire an operations lead. Number four, you got to hire that operations lead. That's going to be pivotal in you growing faster. Because one thing I did was I did just it's like a 10-minute voice note to my operations lead. I said, these are the things that actually need to happen over the next 30 days. Do you know all them tasks already in ClickUp assigned to me, my VA, and her, so we can run for the next 30 days? So yeah, if you are currently building the plane while you are actively in flight, it is okay. It is okay. You can get through this. There will be a point where the plane is pristine. Everyone feels like they're in first class. It'll be beautiful. You just got to go with the flow for right now. Go with it. If you are looking for some support on like what's going on in your business, having someone like actually help you and walk with you, I am still coaching one-on-one. That is the one thing I have been like damn consistent with. I am still one-on-one coaching people to help you go from one woman show to CEO of an agency. And CEO of an agency does not have to look like a team of 10. It could be a team of 4 or 2. One of them better be that operations lead. But I help you grow into the agency that you want. And newly, we offer system setup and process management. So what that looks like is us coming in, making sure the map that we create together in Flourish, the coaching program, actually flows through the systems that you have. If you are interested, you can DM me. You can actually use the link below to sign up for a discovery call with me. Or newly in the future, there will be a link for you to actually sign up on your own. All right. That's it for today.